The family gathering was held at a cozy event hall in Denver, Colorado. Fairy lights strung across the ceiling, a buffet table lined with golden trays, and laughter echoing from every corner. It was supposed to be a celebration. A simple reunion, where everyone caught up over food and memories. I walked in carrying a small gift bag, hoping this time, things would be different. For years, every family event had come with its share of quiet comparisons and awkward silences, but I wanted to believe this time would be better. My sister, Brianna, was at the center of it all, wearing a floral dress and the kind of smile that made people think she had life all figured out. She was charming, carefree, and had the magical ability to make people adore her with just a few words. Mom and Dad were standing by her side, laughing at something she said. I stood near the drink table, pretending to be fascinated by the wine options. A few cousins waved at me, and for a moment, it felt normal, like maybe we were just a regular family. The hall buzzed with noise, kids running around, uncles cracking jokes, and the smell of roasted chicken filling the air. I even let myself relax. Maybe, I thought, this could be one of those rare nights where no one gets compared, no one gets judged, and we just exist together. But the peace didn't last. Dinner was served, plates clattering and chatter filling the room. Then, Mom stood up, holding her glass of champagne. "Everyone," she said, her voice cutting through the laughter. "I just want to say a few words." My stomach tightened. I'd seen that look before. The one she got before saying something she'd call honest. But what really meant hurtful. She smiled at Brianna, her eyes soft. "This," she said, raising her glass toward my sister, "is the daughter who has always loved us, who has always been there for us." The room clapped politely. My dad chuckled. Brianna blushed, pretending to be shy. I tried to swallow, but my throat was dry. Then Mom added, louder this time. Unlike some people who've never lifted a finger. My heart dropped. A few people shifted in their seats. The clapping died down. Someone coughed. I didn't look up. I just stared at my plate. It was like someone had punched all the air out of the room. Nobody said anything. Not one person spoke up. I'd been paying their mortgage for nearly a decade, helping them stay afloat when things got hard. I'd covered bills, emergencies, groceries, everything, and in front of 50 people, she erased me with one sentence. I didn't cry, didn't yell. I just smiled faintly, stood up, and walked out. No scene, no words, just the sound of my heels against the floor. As I reached my car, the cool Denver air hit my face, sharp and clean. I sat there for a long time, staring at the steering wheel. My phone buzzed. Messages from cousins asking if I was okay. I ignored them. I started the engine and drove home in silence, headlights washing over the empty roads. Every mile, I replayed the moment in my head. That single sentence twisting like a knife. The daughter who's always loved us. Funny how love, in my family, always seemed to be measured by how visible you made your devotion. Not by how much you actually gave. When I got home, I poured a glass of water and sat at the kitchen table. My mind wasn't racing. It was calm, cold. For the first time, everything was crystal clear. If I was invisible, then I'd start acting like it. I opened my laptop, logged into my accounts, and began systematically canceling every auto payment linked to my parents' bills. The mortgage transfer, gone. The utilities, done. The grocery card I refilled each month, canceled. Even the emergency fund I'd created for them. I closed it. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because I realized something that night. I'd been paying for the privilege of being overlooked. The least I could do was stop financing it. When I went to bed, I expected to feel guilty. But I didn't. I just felt done. The next morning, my phone started buzzing before the sun was even up. At first, I thought it was my alarm, but when I glanced at the screen, I saw 27 missed calls. By the time I made coffee, it jumped to 38. The first few were from Mom, then a couple from Dad, and the rest, of course, from Brianna. The same Brianna who hadn't texted me in 6 months. Unless she needed help with her taxes, was suddenly the most persistent caller in the world. I sat on the couch, watching the screen light up again and again. Eventually, curiosity won. I picked up. "Oh, thank God!" Brianna said before I could even say hello. We didn't know where you went last night. Home, I said flatly. Is everything okay? It is now, I said, sipping my coffee. Well, not exactly. We have a problem. I didn't say anything. I just waited. The family brunch cruise, she said. You know, the sightseeing boat Mom booked for everyone this morning. It got cancelled. Something about a declined card. That's weird, I said, pretending to sound surprised. They said the card on file was yours, she added. It was. You cancelled it. I did. There was a pause so long I could hear her breathing through the phone. Why would you do that? She finally asked, her voice rising. Because? I said calmly. Mom stood up in front of 50 people and said I've never lifted a finger. So I figured I'd start acting the part. Silence. For a few seconds, all I could hear was her disbelief. Then she said, okay, but the whole trip. The cabins, the activities, everything? It was all under my name? I said. So? Yes, everything. They don't have a way back? Then I guess you'll have to figure that out. You're the daughter who's always loved them. Remember? This isn't funny, Lena. She snapped. They're freaking out. Good, I said, and hung up. I sat there for a while, staring at my reflection in the black screen of my phone. I didn't feel proud or triumphant. It wasn't about revenge. It was about peace. For years, I'd been the safety net they never acknowledged existed. They took my help, my money, my time, but never once gave me the kind of love they handed Brianna effortlessly. That night at the dinner table had just made it official. Now, I was done. A few hours later, I checked my email. The payment alerts were already rolling in. Transfer declined. Auto payment failed. Mortgage contribution not received. Each one felt like a small release. For once, I wasn't scrambling to fix anything. I wasn't logging into my bank account to move things around or wiring money I'd never see again. Instead, I made another cup of coffee and sat by the window, watching the snow start to fall. Around noon, Dad called. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. Hey, sweetheart. I think there's been some sort of mistake. The card for the mortgage isn't working, and your mom said something about you canceling the trip. Give us a call, okay? His voice sounded cautious, careful, the way it always did when he didn't want to take sides. I didn't call him back. I didn't need to. The truth was already unfolding without me lifting a finger. By evening, they'd tried logging into the shared account I let them use for bills. I got the security alert right away. New device login attempt detected. Then another. After 2 tries, it locked itself. Oops. Later that night, there was a knock at my door. I didn't move at first. Then I heard my mother's voice. Soft, almost trembling. Lena. I opened the door. She looked exhausted, hair windblown, makeup smudged. Dad stood behind her, hands in his pockets, silent. Can we come in? She asked. No, I said. But we can talk here. She frowned, glancing around the hallway. I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding, she said gently. You mean when you stood up in front of everyone and said I've never done anything for you? That wasn't what I meant. Sounded pretty clear to me. It was a moment, she said quickly. Everyone was watching, and Brianna had just given us that photo collage, and you decided to humiliate me in front of 50 people. I finished. I was just emotional. You know how proud I am of you. Proud enough to erase me. Her mouth opened, then closed. Lena, we didn't think you'd take it so personally. I laughed, a small bitter sound. You know what's funny? You didn't think at all. You just acted. And now, so am I. Dad finally spoke. You didn't have to cancel everything. Actually, I said, I did. It's about time I let the daughter, who's always loved you, take care of things. My mom flinched at that, but I didn't feel bad. Not anymore. I wasn't trying to hurt them. I was just showing them what life looked like, without my invisible support. I'd spent nearly 10 years holding them together quietly. It was time they learned how to stand on their own. The following days after the disastrous anniversary dinner were quiet, almost eerily so. I thought I'd feel guilty for walking out, but instead, I felt lighter, like I'd finally taken off a weight I'd carried for years. Still, there was a small ache I couldn't ignore. I had spent my whole life trying to please them, trying to be seen, trying to be enough. But that night made one thing clear: I never would be. On Monday, I returned to work at the design firm. My boss, Mr. Patel, called me into his office before lunch. "You've been quiet lately," he said. "Everything all right?" I hesitated, unsure how to explain decades of emotional neglect in a single sentence. "Family drama," I finally said. "It'll pass." He nodded. "It always does. But don't let it dim your work. You've got a good eye, Lena." His words hit differently that day. Because for once, I realized someone actually noticed what I did. That afternoon, I poured myself into a new interior project, a lakeside house renovation for a wealthy client in upstate New York. It was detailed, demanding, and exactly what I needed to keep from spiraling. Still, every now and then, I'd get texts from Mom or Brianna, short, guilt-soaked messages like, "You overreacted," or, "You should apologize for ruining the night." I never replied. But one message from Dad made me pause. "We're sorry if we hurt you. But don't forget family comes first." Family. The word felt hollow. I closed my phone and turned it face down. The next weekend, my best friend Marisol invited me to brunch. She was the only person I'd confided in about that night. When I arrived, she was already waving from a corner table, 2 mimosas waiting. "You look better," she said, studying my face. "No family updates, just the usual guilt, confusion, and denial," I said with a half smile. "They'll never change." "Then maybe you stop waiting for them to." That stuck with me. For the next few days, I did something I hadn't done in years. I focused on myself. I woke up early, went for walks, and even started painting again. But life had a way of interrupting peace. On Thursday, my phone rang. It was the event planner for my parents' upcoming vow renewal cruise. The same one I had helped organize months ago. "Hi, this is Heather from Silverline Cruises," she said cheerfully. "I just wanted to confirm the final guest list and payment before we finalize the itinerary." I froze. "Payment?" "Yes. The card on file belongs to you, Miss Miller." My stomach dropped. I'd forgotten I was still paying for it. "Actually," I said slowly, "you can go ahead and cancel that reservation. Everything under my name. Just cancel it." Heather hesitated. "Are you sure? That's quite a big event." "I'm sure." When I hung up, I felt a strange calm wash over me. For once, I wasn't going to bankroll another celebration where I'd be treated like a stranger. Later that night, Marisol came over. "You canceled it?" she asked after I told her. "Completely," she grinned. "That's cold." "It's fair," I said. "They wanted to show the world how perfect their family is. Now they can figure out how to do that without my help." Over the next few days, I watched the ripple effect unfold. Brianna posted on social media about how unreliable people can ruin family plans, clearly aimed at me. Mom sent another guilt-ridden message about how things like this destroy families. But for the first time in my life, I didn't care. I didn't respond. Instead, I took a weekend trip by myself to a small cabin in Vermont. I read, painted, and watched the leaves change color. It was peaceful. Something I hadn't experienced in a long time. The silence wasn't loneliness anymore. It was freedom. But I knew this wasn't the end. My family had always found a way to twist situations into their favor. And sure enough, when I got back home, there were 3 voicemails waiting for me. The first was from Dad, polite but tense. The second was from Mom, filled with disappointment. And the third, from Brianna, was sharp and furious. "You're unbelievable, Lena," she said. "You embarrassed us all. You canceled everything we planned. You've always been jealous. And now you're just proving it." I listened to the message twice, then deleted it. I wasn't jealous. I was just done. Still, deep down, I knew something bigger was coming. My mother never let things end quietly, and Brianna had her same fire. I just didn't expect how they'd try to pull me back in. Or how that attempt would backfire spectacularly.